Hey guys, I'm Dimension Jumper and today I'll be reviewing the Resident Evil 4 remake which was released back in 2023. Now this is a remake of the original Resident Evil 4 and this game follows the story or brings back Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil 2. And this time he's in Spain looking for the president's daughter Ashley Graham and it leads into this small village in Spain, and he learns that this cult has basically taken it over, and the leader has basically put this parasite thing into a lot of people in the village, and they basically start becoming these weird parasitic type of enemies because a lot of the enemies you will fight will either be these sort of parasites looking types of enemies, or if you explode one of the enemy's heads, this parasite thing will come out of their head. I'll probably show it to you in the gameplay, but I think it's an interesting... I think when it comes to the story and stuff, it's a far different story than Resident Evil 2. It does have some similar elements, like you've got zombie-like enemies, you've got a guy that can become like a weird bioweapon type of thing towards the end. I think you've got a couple of characters or a couple of enemies who can become giant mutated enemy type of bosses and stuff like that. But it's very different, I think, because what I've heard before getting 4 Remake was that Resident Evil 4 was a good blend of horror and action. And yeah, I can kind of see why. I think it does blend the whole horror action thing quite well, because you've got some elements that are quite horrifying and quite scary. Like you've got one of the early bosses that you fight has the sort of like weird sort of parasite body, and it's kind of horrifying. And then one of the enemies that you fight at the very end of the game it's just this mass of tentacles, and it's just very horrific and very horrifying. But I think the action does blend it quite well with the horror. And yeah, and I think this is what parts of Resident Evil Village tried to be. I do enjoy both 4 Remake and Village. I think with Village in particular, I think around the halfway point, it started to go into, lean more into action than horror, than it tried to blend both of them at the same time. And I think 4 Remake does a good blend of both horror and action. And yeah, I think it's very fun, and I think has some quite cool elements. And yeah, and now it's time for some gameplay. So in Resident Evil 4 Remake, and I believe also in the original, you are given a companion a bit, because in some of the chapters, Ashley follows you about every so often. But there are some parts where she will get separated from Leon. Like there's a bit where she gets kidnapped by the main villain of the game around about the end of it. But what it actually does is she helps you get to certain areas. Like she might, for example, open a gate that's locked on the other side, for example. She might bring down a ladder that's in a higher area, that sort of thing. And she helps out every now and again. And you can also basically just have her hide if in certain areas, like I think there's one like you can hide in like a wardrobe or something. I can't 100% exactly remember, but that's like some of the areas you can hide in terms of like if there's like a horde of enemies and that they don't kidnap her, because if they kidnap her and take her a certain distance away, that'll be a game over. So having her in certain areas is a good way of just making sure she's safe, as well as not getting a game over. And also, there's also a merchant in the game, similar to, or basically like Resident Evil Village. I know that Village came out way later and takes elements from Village, from 4, like the whole village aspect, the merchant thing. It's kind of basically that. So if you played Village, the merchant in 4 Remake is kind of the same like how the Duke works in Resident Evil Village, in that you can buy new weapons from him, as well as basically upgrading your weapons as well as selling um, your items or gems or treasures or um, whatever else you find around in the game. And like in Village, or pretty much the same thing in Village, you can combine treasures like rubies, sapphires, and other stuff to other big treasures parts, and then they'll give you more money. So if you really play Village, then the merchant in this game is very similar to a lot of the mechanics in Village is similar to Resident Evil 4 Remake. And also, this is only specific to the merchant in 4, is that you can do different requests from the merchant. And there'll be repeat requests like find several snakes, or destroy certain medallions, that sort of thing, or basically hunt down rats, that sort of thing. And you will be given a reward for it, that being a spinel, or a spinel. I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce it. I'm pronouncing it wrong either way. But what they basically give you is different treasures or different things. So, for example, you can be given like a new weapon, a gem, or a weapon upgrade, or stuff that can give you more health, that sort of thing. And I think the missions you get from the merchant really do help expand the game a whole lot more, because it requires you to get to certain areas and explore those bits or those certain areas from top to bottom, and try and get through all of it and try and get all of those specific requests done. And yeah, and I'm going to quickly show you how some of the different guns work. So yeah, so when it comes to switching out items, it's kind of similar to how The Last of Us does it, in that, or how the Resident Evil games do it, in that you're given like this big weapon wheel sort of thing, and you can switch between the different weapons. So if you can choose a grenade launcher or a standard shotgun or pistol or whatever, and some of the enemies will vary. Sometimes you'll have enemies that have tentacles coming out their heads. You'll have others that have animal masks on, that sort of thing.
You okay?
Yeah.
And sometimes, if I wasn't able to do it then, but if Ashley falls down, you do have the chance to help her back up, which I think is nice. And yeah, which I think is cool. And also, there are some enemies that will have things you can't really dodge or penetrate. So you have to really use your weapons or your guns tactically, because you don't want to waste your bullets and ammo on enemies.
Let's take a break for a second.
Enemies that will take a lot of bullets or ammo to until they're defeated. Also, I want to quickly show you one more thing that the main game does or has. So the final area in the game that I want to show you is this. So basically, this is the shooting range, and you're given different things or different I would say courses. I would say for you to do, and they all require doing different. Using different guns and that sort of thing. So, for example, for the first one, it's just using one of your pistols, and then you've got another one that might require you using 2 of your guns or stuff like that. And the better you do, the better stuff you'll get, and that means you'll get these coins, which you can use for the slots machine thing, where you can get certain rewards and stuff. And yeah, so I'm going to show you. I'm going to quickly show you the first round, just so you can see how it's done. So you have to basically hit all of the pirates and not hit any of the sailors. And there will be some pirates, like this one, that has skull medallions on, and they basically give you extra points. So you have to really make sure you do get them, because then you can get extra points. And if you do hit a sailor by accident like this, you will lose points. So you have to really make sure you get everything. And also there's bonus rounds. So the bonus point or bonus area, it's just you getting like extra points. Now I highly suggest trying to get to the bonus rounds, because you can get like extra points, and trying to get those extra points will do a whole lot. It will help you a lot. So yeah, so that's basically it for the gameplay. Now it's going to go back to the review. So overall, I would say that Resident Evil 4 Resident Evil 4 Remake is really enjoyable. I enjoy how this sort of continues Leon's story from Resident Evil 2, and because this game takes place a few years or so. I think it takes place canonically in 2004, 2005. So a few years after the zombie outbreak at Raccoon City. And yeah, you can kind of see how much Leon has changed a bit since that incident in Resident Evil 2. And yeah, and I think his interactions with some of the characters like Luis, Ada and Ashley are quite enjoyable, and quite nice seeing how they all interact with each other. And yeah, I do like how Ada kind of appears every so often, because she's doing her own thing, and which I will be talking about in next week's video when it comes to the Separate Ways DLC. And yeah, I think as a whole, Resident Evil 4 has a lot of enjoyable moments, and I do like how it continues the whole Resident Evil like storyline of like, okay, something happened in this game, and now we're continuing that storyline in this game, and it's really fun and interesting. And I do like the combat. I think the combat's really fun and enjoyable. I do like the whole blend of horror and action, and yeah, I think it's a really fun game. So yeah. So that's been my review for the Resident Evil 4 Remake. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.